Sorry, everyone, for the technical difficulties. We'll be up in just about 5 minutes.
Are we ready, Shifa?
Yes, I'm ready to go. So sorry, everyone, for the delay. It won't happen again, but these unexpected updates sometimes on your computer are very difficult.
No problem, Shifa. No problem whatsoever.
Please,
Hello, Shafa. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, are you ready?
Welcome. Yes, surely we're welcome to listen to
Okay,
all
great.
of the
Thank you.
experts.
Thank you very
This
okay.
is Dr. Shabi Zaidi welcoming everybody on behalf of Sadiq International Virtual University. Welcome. This is springtime. I hope you're having a good time everywhere, wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And Shifa will open it, and inshallah we'll start immediately. So Shole, all yours then. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody, and we apologize for the delay, but it was due to technical glitches. Today, we are going to talk about technical and vocational training and education, or TVET. That's an umbrella to encompass education and training activities. In this webinar, my colleagues, Dr. Soleiman Ahmadi from Shahid Beheshti University of Medical Sciences, is Doctor of Medicine, PhD in Medical Education, and Associate Professor of Medical Education, Dean of Virtual School of Medical Education and Management at Shahid Beheshti University of Medical Sciences. Dr. Yadullah Zahirzadeh, PhD, Associate Professor of Medical Education and Director of International Affairs, Kurdistan University of Medical Sciences. Ms. Sarah Shahwazi, PhD student of medical education, lecturer at Shahid Beheshti University of Medical Sciences, nursing lecturer in Shah Record University of Medical Sciences. And I'm Shole Bigdeli, and it's my pleasure to be with every one of you in this webinar. As you know, education is the most important component in development of nations and humankind, and it's the most crucial factor in attaining the ideals of peace, freedom, and social justice. Education contributes to human mind by the intelligence, sensitivity, aesthetic sense, personal responsibility, and spiritual values. In this regard, technical and vocational education and training are important to empower nations. In this webinar, the speakers will try to briefly introduce the theoretical foundations, pedagogical principles, models of TVET and e-learning in TVET, and they will share the experiences of skills training in the Iranian context. Please type your questions in the chat box, and you can ask your questions at the end of the session. We can give you a turn to ask your questions orally, or the team will answer your written questions. First of all, we're going to start with a presentation of Dr. Zahirzadeh that will be shared by my colleagues. Ms. Shahbaz, yes, thank you. Dr. Zahirzadeh has difficulty in connecting to the internet because of the low internet speed. He shared his slides with us. We will listen to his sayings, and at the end, if he can join us, he will answer the questions that you have in this regard. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. It's a great honor to be here with you today. You are the elite of education. My name is Yadullah Zahirzadeh. I am Associate Professor of Medical Education in Kurdistan University of Medical Sciences in Sanandaj, Iran. At the beginning of my short speech, I would like to thank Professor Shabih Zaidi and his respected colleagues in SIVU, and also Dr. Baidili for time and effort taken to provide this educational platform for all of us to learn from one another. Today, I will provide a short introduction to the theoretical and philosophical underpinnings of TVET, albeit from my own perspective. Thank you very much for attending and listening to me. We have already provided the definition of TVET in our handout, so I do not repeat that again due to time limitations, but it's good to keep in mind that vocational technical education and training is any form of education designed for preparing an individual for employment in an occupation or for helping him or her to remain productive and successful in an occupation. TVET is about the term and concepts such as job, work, being productive, human development, psychomotor skills, and cognitive skills. If so, it's about prosperity, well-being, and economic growth. It is worth mentioning that Hans Schock from Stanford University saw a clear relationship between cognitive skills of the workforce and economic growth. It is evident that cognitive skills of the workforce is related to the quality and quantity of the TVET programs in each country, especially in our time that we are entering a new era where everything is changing and will dramatically change in future. In the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution, in which knowledge and know-how are the keys to success, TVET programs are the best form of education for preparing the vast majority of people for this new era. Let me directly quote Klaus Schwab, the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum in this regard. We stand on the brink of technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. The first rationale and theory underpinning TVET that I want to mention here is the endogenous growth theory, which maintains that the economic growth is primarily the result of internal forces rather than external forces. One of the main components of internal forces in each country is its human capital. You know better than me that human capital is enriched and enhanced through human development programs such as TVET. So it seems high quality nationwide TVET programs are one of the forces for endogenous long-term sustainable economic growth. As mentioned above, TVET is about development, responsibility, choice, and freedom to learn. So we are talking about adult learners. There are founding theories and principles for adult learning. We shall remember Nawels here, who described andragogy as the science and the art of helping adults to learn. Nawels rightly described some basic assumptions about adult learners that I briefly recount them here. Adults have learning needs that can be contextualized to their lives. They have a self-responsibility for their choices and goals. They have life experiences to build their learning upon them. They are ready to learn as they know its value, impact, and results. They are mostly internally motivated to learn and change. It's clearly evident that these assumptions of andragogy are related to any adult learning program, including TVET. Heutagogy is a more humanistic approach to learning in which we can imagine a self-determined learner who knows how to learn and what to learn, formulates questions and problems to be answered. Heutagogy has some implications for TVET because it is more democratic, puts more emphasis on intrinsic motivations, it is humanistic, emancipatory, and gives the learner freedom of choice and pace of learning. We need all these characteristics in a well-designed TVET program, remembering that we are entering a new era that traditional ways of teaching and learning may be challenged seriously. The world is rapidly changing. Fourth industrial revolution is on the way and globalization of everything is happening. The rearrangement of workplace and changing in the way of doing things are inevitable. These changes may result in social exclusion, isolation, unemployment, and polarization of professional technical jobs for millions of people all over the world. Development and empowerment through TVET programs for vast majority of people and helping them in their required transformation seems to be one of the ways to combat this situation. Transformative learning is a deeper level learning that involves creativity, critical thinking, emotional self-awareness, consciousness, and change in one's perspective, leading to positive change. It seems TVET programs can help people to transform their lives, which is very much needed. Technical vocational education and training is aimed at advancement of skills and cognition, which result in empowerment and more freedom. Ferrari introduced an approach to education which creates an understanding of power, oppression, domination, and ideology. Central to his educational theory was consciousness, the way learners looked at the world and themselves, their beliefs, ethics, fears, and motives, and how these in turn shaped their behavior in terms of learning and doing. From the standpoint of this critical theory, TVET can be transformative and liberating. Therefore, I argue that transformative learning theory, particularly the works of Ferri, are one of the main theories that the TVET programs must be based upon. The concept of reflection, first introduced by John Dewey in Western educational literature, had been already mentioned in Masnavi, the masterpiece of the 13th century Iranian poet and mystic Rumi. For example, a person's worth lies in his thoughts alone. Apart from that, we are only flesh and bone. You will be a rose if all your thoughts are selfless. If selfish, just a thorn which is deemed worthless. According to Dewey, reflective learning should include recalling the experience and the event, and then posing a question to discover why things happened the way they did, and what possible actions could have created a different account. Dewey maintained that we do not learn from experience directly, but we learn from reflection on experience. This concept was formulated by Donald Schoen as reflection on action and reflection in action. TVET, as its name suggests, is a form of experiential learning by its nature. So we can argue that without reflection, the learner will not be able to deeply learn from practice. It could be concluded that reflective learning using different models of Schoen, Gibbs, Kolb, and others must be a part of any TVET program. According to WFME, CPD includes all activities that healthcare professionals undertake formally and informally in order to maintain, update, develop, and enhance their knowledge, skills, and attitudes in response to the changing needs of their patients. Engaging in CPD is a professional obligation, but also a requirement for enhancing the quality of healthcare. CPD as a form of situated learning, explained by Lev and Wagner in 1990, is and will be an important part of medical education. Professionals are more inclined to learn from experience directly related to their jobs rather than from abstract knowledge transferring classes. CPD can be designed and conducted in TVET programs based on learning theories mentioned here and elsewhere. New technologies and procedures such as virtual reality, precision medicine, healthcare wearables, artificial organs, 3D printing, tissue engineering, wireless brain sensors, robotic surgery, smart inhalers, to mention but a few, have already emerged and are taking the central stage in medicine. This will change the face and practice of medicine dramatically. All of these new features can be introduced into medical practice through TVET programs using different models that is discussed by my colleagues based on the educational theories that I just mentioned here. Based on what I just tried to say about new technologies, it can be concluded that new TVET programs will be situated in technology-rich, innovative learning environments. The term to describe such environment and framework is cybergogy, which has been defined as a framework for creating engaged learning online. In this new cybergogy environment, both teachers and students and program designers must develop their technology trend awareness to be able to remain updated. I suggest Universities design technology trained awareness as a TVET program for their audience. One of the lessons of history extracted by Will Durant in his great book, The Story of Civilization, is that competition and collaboration made civilization possible. It seems competition prevails. Competition requires getting better because your rivals are getting better. As basketball coach Pat Riley once said, if you are not getting better, you are getting worse. So, a down-to-earth philosophy of TVET is getting better. Humanistic approaches mentioned here help us design TVET programs for people to get better based on their own choices, their own speeds, and their own preferred directions. The hierarchy of needs presented by Maslow is well known to all of us and widely accepted. According to the hierarchy of needs, we humans have different needs that make a hierarchy starting from physiological needs at the lowest level and moves upward to self-actualization, which represents the highest order motivations which drive us to realize our true potentials and achieve our best ideal self. Although TVET programs can be designed to meet human needs at any level, but they can help people to move upward to create their ideal personalities. In this short speech, I tried to talk about theoretical underpinnings of TVET from different perspectives, such as endogenous growth theory, educational noun theories like andragogy and experiential learning, emancipatory, transformative, critical, reflective theories, new concepts such as heotagogy and cybergogy, and also psychology of human needs, and lastly, down-to-earth, everyday working theory of getting better. I hope I have been able to do the justice to the subject, considering time limitations and, of course, limitations of myself and my knowledge. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. I want to appreciate Dr. Zarzareh for his wonderful presentation, and I would like to ask Dr. Ahmadi to join us and start this. Please write down your questions in the chat box or Q&A section.
May I
and we'll
please
get back
give
to
me
you.
the camera access?
Yes, 2 seconds. I think everyone should be able to now.
I'm trying to access the, yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmadi.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Have a nice time. I'm Suleiman Ahmadi. I did actually my medical school. Sorry, do you have my? Do you have my slide?
No, you have to open it, Dr. Ahmadi, please. Open and share your screen with us.
I have opened it. Let's what's up. I share my. Is that okay?
No.
You may have to go into the into Zoom and share the window with the slides. Currently sharing the folder side.
New share. I will try again.
Screen.
Screen.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry for interruption. Hello, everybody. Have a nice time. I'm Suleiman Ahmadi. Actually, I did my medical doctorate at Iran, and I did my PhD at Karolinska Institute, Stockholm, Sweden. First of all, I would express my thanks to Professor Shabi Zaidi, Chancellor of Al-Sadiq International Virtual University, for his great leadership manner and effort in designing and launching such an excellent educational platform. Indeed, in this initiative, scholars come along with together, and many people who are looking to learn around the world. And it has created an opportunity for everyone to communicate with the language of science and forming a scientific community of practitioners. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about the role of TIVET, the trained and skill development training system. And also I will talk about the pedagogical perspective of TIVET, the role of modern technology and e-learning play in TIVET, and a proposal. And finally, I will propose a framework for TIVET. So let's start with the first section of my presentation. Once we are talking about the TIVET, we are considering and we are dealing with three different concepts: skill development, TIVET ecosystem, and medical education. Concerning the skill development, the acquisition of the knowledge and skill for the world of work is very crucial and important. Three components of the practical competency, knows how, and the attitude are necessary to perform a trade or occupation in the labor market. So TIVET, or technical and vocational education and training, is the way, or is the source of skills acquisition. In this type of skill development, we have four different types of skill. The first type is basic, or even the foundation skill, like the literacy and the numeracy skill necessary for getting the work, and some very primary skill. Once we talking about the vocational or technical skill as a second type of skill, is specialized skill like knowledge or know-how needed to perform specific duty or a special task. The third type of skill are professional skills or personal skill. This kind of skill is very required for getting the communication and individual attribute relevant to work, like the honesty, integrity, work, and some ethical or some other indicator for professional behavior. And the last one is the core skill. The core skill is the subject that we are talking about. The core skill is the ability to learn and adapt, or to read, write, communicate with each other, listening, and lots of skill, or like the creativity, solving the problem, and different kind of core work skill. So once we're talking about the educational system, there is three different educational systems. One is the formal one, the second is the non-formal, and the third one is the informal. When we're talking about the ecology of the TIVET, we are dealing with these three kind of formal system that is related to the TIVET. So another kind of categorization is the model of TIVET. We have different model of TIVET. The first model, okay. The first model of TVET around the world is the liberal market economic model. This kind of model more used in UK and Australia, and it's completely rely on the private market led by industry and other private sector. The second model of the TVET is the state regulator bureaucratic model, mostly used in Italy, Sweden, and Finland. This kind of model is based on national education system defined, provide, and finance vocational education and training. It's more public-private partnership and the film industry and labor union function mainly on the consultative level. But the third one is dual system model, mostly used in Germany, Australia, Switzerland, Denmark, and Norway. This dual system consists of strongly both on public and private collaboration, and this mostly model concerning the TVET courses. So, also each country has its special economic situation, and the definition and application of the most TVET models are based on this kind of situation. So there are lots of principles. Some of these principles are basic principles in order to have an effective TVET skills system. This kind of principle we have categorized in 6 main categories. The first category or the first principle for designing and implementation a successful TVET is the relevance to a labor market. The TVET courses and programs have to relevant to the labor market. The second one is strong involvement of the private sector. This is very important factor in TVET system. Good access to training is the short one, and the next one is high quality of delivery. The fifth one is secure and uninterrupted financing. Financing of this kind of technical and vocational training courses are very important, and as inclusion of core work skill that we were talking about, this kind of skill is important and as a principle of the TVET. So once an institution or a school gonna to design and implement a core skill in order to deliver TVET program, a cyclic approach for core skill implementation is very important. In this cyclic approach, the first step is an identification of the core skill for employee or for stakeholder. The second one is development and mapping of the competency for standard, the curriculum and the resource. And the third one is mapping or revision for development of delivery of assessment and reporting some practices. Professional development is very important, like the CPD, continuous professional development that my colleague, Dr. Zarazadeh, have already raised. Awareness for raising social marketing for core skill among employee, partner, and student. And the next step for this cycling in monitoring and or impact assessment of core skill for employability and implementation is very important. So based on this model and the situation, there has been some challenges once an institution going to implement a TVET program. Based on the UNESCO report, there are 4 main challenges. The first one is disagreement on responsibility for imparting transferable skill in TWIT. The second one is rigid and heavily curricula that impede innovative teaching and learning. And the third one is lack of capacity to develop and or apply innovative teaching method. And the last one is lack of adequate assessment method. These four challenges is common around the different institution and the community. If we look to this diagram, we see the lack of skill is a constraining economic activity, and it's inhibit the effective getting a job. In this diagram, we can see the different situation and in different region that there is disparity among this kind of report. So with that model and that situation and with the challenge that sometimes TWIT program are facing, we need to address this kind of challenges. In the following section, I will discuss about some of the tackling a strategy that we should consider in order to, bridge the gap and solve the problem and solve the challenges. Let's start with the second part of my presentation. The second part of my presentation is about the digital age and pivots. New pivot and change and trend in the global perspective has new driver of change and trend in pivot has different factor and different elements that cause different trends. The first one is demographic changing. The second one is economic globalization. The economic globalization is another clear trend among the university and worldwide international organization or multinational cooperation also continue to increase in this kind of challenges. Internet everywhere or ubiquitous internet is another factor to explosive the growth in the quality and quantity of information available and different information and security of information. This kind of factor makes some trend in this era. The fourth trend is cross-disciplinary technology integration. It's driving the creation of major cross-disciplinary technology integration that are more and more strongly connected to social and human aspiration. The fifth trend is environmentals. Lots of factor and there is lots of discussion around this issue because of the shortage of time. I'm not going to talk about in detail. And the sixth one is natural resource usage efficiency. Also emerging ICT trend, we can see different new technology and modern technology like the IoT, Internet of Things, cloud computing, big data, artificial intelligence, application service, and all of this emerging ICT ecosystem make the new ecosystem for us. The most famous and the most effective one is AI or artificial intelligence and big data or cloud computing that have affect different industry, agriculture, logistic, network, automatic, and other systems. Or we have most 5 technology that is particular considered for driving innovative manner of TV. We can show and we can say the ubiquitous computing, collaborative technology, extended reality, artificial intelligence, and blockchains are the most important and effective one. So the next digital age and pivot is very important for our client. Cabo has a good quotation. He has said that technology driving transformation are defining the role of education, the value of knowledge and skills, non-formal learning, third space literacy, and alternative mechanism for certification are emerging throughout the world, aiming to prepare youth for entering the job market. And rapidly advances information and communication technology and the change in the culture of work and digital work require workers to acquire not only technological competency, but also many soft skills needed. For future qualification and skill requirement from TVET, we need to categorize the competencies. Some of these competency and skill are technical one, and some are personal. Some has categorized in the must skill. Some have been categorized in the should skill, and some other are categorized around the category of better one. And with different communication and with different skill in the technical and personal area, we can consider very effective, and we can develop very important and beneficial TVET program. So have a look to the another data about the UNESCO. UNESCO has a special committee or department, the UNIVOC, International Center for Technical and Vocational Education and Training. They issue some regularly report about the TVETs. Based on their survey, they have shown three biggest change that have occurred in the world of work over the past 5 years, like the growth in ICT and digitalization based on the TVET institution opinion, and even based on the TVET practitioner, growth in ICT and digitalization have main and biggest change around the last 5 years. Rapid technology changes and also increased automation are very important and very main changes during this survey. Once we talk about the stage of the evolution toward an information society for technical and vocational education and training, we have a special standard or indicator for this that we call is IDI. This is standing for ICT Development Index. ICT Development Index can contain ICT readiness, ICT use, and ICT capability that make ICT impact, and the outcome of ICT shows in this manner. So based on this indicator, there is therefore a great disparity around the different region of around the world. This kind of great disparity in level of ICT development between the country of the region. As shown, for example, in this slide, the Asia Pacific region has the largest range of ICT index or IDI index value in the world. If we consider the infrastructure, we can see the same result. And in the ICT Development Index based on the country at the region of Asia and Pacific. In this slide, you could see while the Asia region is the location of three biggest and 3 of the 10 most ICT developed country. I mean, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Japan, but also is the home or location of the unfortunately less ICT developed nation like the Afghanistan and other countries. So after this digital age and the driver change that technology bring for TVET, we will discuss about the theoretical and pedagogical perspective from the TVET pedagogy. A theoretical perspective for the TVET, we can use many different items based on the ICT. It's more about the theoretical training and from the pedagogical perspective, like the flexible and blended learning, curriculum integration, assessment, and even the meeting special learning need. For example, ICT enhanced innovation pedagogy in TVET in the Asia Pacific based on the UNESCO report in 2017. It shows that ICT is a powerful means to increase access to quality and lifelong TVET and enhance the relevance and authenticity of learning, and it's enabled workplace to be brought into learning. Or this is really important and very good example of the ones we're talking about the hands-on practical training. However, it's very clear that hands-on practical training cannot be replaced by technology. But if we consider this phenomenon that the learning is a social phenomenon, and based on this assumption that we can consider the learning from the perspective of social phenomenon, in this case, the modern technology are able to enhance the acquisition of the practical skill. So it's very important. I mean, I just rephrase or paraphrase my talk about this important statement. If we consider learning as a social phenomenon, then technology can make great impact on practical skill acquisition. So from the perspective of the TVET technology and pedagogical perspective of the program, ICT enhanced pedagogy can support learning in different ways. For example, it's promote flexible lifelong learning. It's provide authentic and stimulated learning. It's enhanced learning engagement and social learning. And finally, it's promote reflective learning and knowledge creation, like the reflective practitioner that's I've already been. So in the the fourth part of my presentation, I will talk about the application of technology enhanced learning environment in TVET. This is very important graph. It shows that the number of training center and virtual training courses that taught from 2008 to 2015. As you see, in 2008, we just have one training center with one virtual or electronic courses. And during this time, in 2015, we have 50 training center and 152 virtual courses for TVET. So it's showed that the dramatic increase and dramatic number of training center and different courses, e-learning courses, virtual courses concerning the TVET we had. So application of technology enhanced learning environment in TVET is in 4 or 5 different area or the aspect of technology. One is the mobile learning. Application of mobile learning in TVET is completely clear. Virtual technology is another one. TUIs or tangible user interface, and finally virtual learning are very important. For example, in the mobile learning, based on the definition Crompton, by assuming that it's encompass learning across multiple contexts through social and content interaction using personal electronic devices. Based on the study have been conducted by the Donald Way in 2017. As you see in this slide, this study that have been conducted by the Donald Way with a systematic review evaluated the effect of mobile learning or M-learning intervention on the high-scale professional education at the 4 level. I mean, the knowledge, skill, attitude, satisfaction. In this slide, you could see description of the study and the result of this study. It's very interesting result of this study, that the mobile learning has a clear impact on skill learning rather than the knowledge. So this is a very important aspect of using mobile learning and the TVET program. The other one is the application of is the virtual technology. Because of the shortage of time, I just quickly move around these slides, and the visual technology and even the study have been done in Switzerland for visual technology, and also the TUI and the tangible user interface. You can see man that is using the kinetic and the feedback and reflection, getting, and even the virtual reality simulation, different generation of this simulation, and based on the systematic review efficacy of the virtual patient in medical education, meta-analysis show that it's very effective in the TVET program and different kinds. So finally, in my last section of presentation, I will try to show you a purpose, a model or framework for institution or for the university that they are going to design and implement any TVET or different kind of TVET program. In this framework, this model shows a central part of the TVET program. At first step, to design an effective and efficient virtual TVET institution, they need to create 3 levels for the central planning and technical support service system. These 3 levels are the institutional, instructional, and infrastructural. And in the 2 middle column of the table, the 6 service units are organized according to their main function. Mainly, I mean, planning, evaluating, or mainly implementing or testing, and according to the level of at which they operate based on institutional, instructional, and infrastructural level. This visual organization illustrates how the the 6 units are interrelated and how they should interact at 6 subsystems of an integrated system to central services. In the end, the result of created such an institution are interrelated with each other, and this process model help designer and curricular or course developer for TVET's program once they are going to create and define this kind of program. So in this presentation, I have tried to discuss about the importance, role, and the high situation of the TVET has in medical sciences. And today, technical education and TVET play an important role even in the medical education and for medical education graduates. I stated the models and the features and their principle and dimension of TVET program. I tried to clarify the global trend and the global view toward the TVET, and then I tried to express the role of modern technology and the place in which TVET has a skill development. And also I have this training can use new technology. Finally, by presenting a conceptual model, I explained the dimension and the level of implementation of a skill program at level of an institution. And I provide, as you see, and the last slide, a proposed conceptual framework or model for the virtual implementation of the TVET course at the institutional level. Thank you for your kind attention, and thank you for our participant. I'm in your service if there is a question.
Appreciate it, Dr. Ahmadi. Thank you very much for this wonderful, informative presentation. Now I want to ask Ms. Shahbazi to start with hers. Ms. Shahbazi, please proceed.
Thank you, dear Dr. Bigdeli, and thank you everyone for joining us, and a special thanks to the Sadat International Virtual University for giving me this great opportunity. It's an honor to be here with you. I'm Sarah Shahbazi, PhD candidate of medical education of Shahid PhD University of Medical Sciences and faculty member of Shah Record University of Medical Sciences, and I'm going to speak about TVET and lessons learned toward a global view and share with you a national experience of TVET in Iran. My presentation outline, including TVET system in Iran and compare with some countries, challenges of TVET in Iran and the National Center of Health Vocational Education and Training. As a result of the emergence of developments and changing lifestyle, the labor market also changes and requires a diverse range of demands of the skilled human resources. The appropriate and logical response to the changing needs of the labor market is the responsibility of institutions and educational organizations. All over the world, these organizations work under the umbrella of technical and vocational education and training, which is known as the TVET. According to UNESCO and International Labour Organization, TUET refers to aspects of the educational process involving, in addition to general education, the study of technologies and related sciences and the acquisition of practical skills, knowledge, attitudes, and understanding relating to occupants in various sectors of economic and social life. Here, I'd like to assess the situation of TUET in Iran with some statistical information provided in the World Bank report and compare it with some countries in the world. As you see in this slide, the total population of Iran is 82.9 million, and 30.2% of them are 50 to 24 years old. It means about 10 million people, but only 763,000 of them enroll in secondary vocational programs, and 34% of them are women. It means that this indicates that a significant number of Iran's young people does not participate in vocational education. Let's take a look at Iraq's table. We are facing a similar situation in Iraq. 19.8% of total populations are 50 to 24 years old, and only 70,900 of them enroll in secondary vocational programs. In this number, in Turkey is 2.7 million, in Germany is 1.3 million, and in United Kingdom is 2.2 million. At a glance, it can be seen that the rate of participation in TUET programs in European countries is much more significant than in the Middle East. The participation rate in these countries for women are also high. Of course, in Japan and South Korea, the participation rate in TUET programs are very high and at about 85%. Let's take a look back at the study of TUET in Iran. Iran Technical and Vocational Training Organization, which is known as TV2, plays a fundamental role in TUET system. In Iran, there is an approach difference for TUET at the view of the two ministries. In the Ministry of Science, Research and Technology, there is an industrial and technical approach, but in Ministry of Health and Medical Education, the approach is non-technical. In Iran, the model of technical and vocational education and training is unique and is divided into two categories: TUET formal education system and TUET non-formal education system. In Iran's TUET education system, TUET is not taught in primary and lower secondary education. First, I want to describe TUET formal education system. This education is offered in 4 levels, including diploma, associate, bachelor, and master's. This education starts from the second year of high school with the entry of students into the Cognition and Fani Baherfe high schools and continues with entrance of the university until the master's degree. The other TUET education system is non-formal system, which is provided for our learners in the community by the TV2 and under the supervision of the Ministry of Cooperative Labor and Social Welfare. As a whole, this is the general picture of Iran's system TUET. According to the World Bank report, TUET in Iran faces challenges including a lack of connection between formal and informal systems, a lack of a comprehensive TUET system, a lack of consideration of labor market needs, lack of quality guarantee of TUET system in universal level, and the lack of diversity in attracting TUET funding. The important thing to speak about is that one of the most important criteria for any training organization is to earn accreditation point. In the TUET system, the process is done by National Qualification Framework, which is known as NQF. Unfortunately, there is currently no NQF in Iran. And the Ministry of Education is responsible for assuring the quality of TUET programs in the formal TUET systems, and the Curriculum Development Office is responsible for quality assurance in the non-formal TUET system under the Iran Technical and Vocational Training Organization. Second main gap is the TUET in Iran was completely oriented towards industry and technical professions, while the community and the staff of the health system need general and specialized training in the field of health. Therefore, in Iran, there was a need for a system that would take into account the needs of all, and in addition to the industry and technical issues, considers health domain education. Following this need, in 2018, the National Center of Health, Vocational Education and Training of the Islamic Republic of Iran was established in the Ministry of Health and Medical Education, and now offers various courses in the field of health. The main goals of the National Center of Health Vocational Education and Training, including organizing health TUET, the use of the existing capacities to train skilled human resources in the field of health, establishing accreditation system for health TUET, improving the quality of health TUET, and developing of health TUET in line with the needs of society. The main task of these centers including expanding of need-based and demand-oriented TUET, a continuous educational needs assessment based on strategic plans, organizing and directing health TUET using successful international experiences, introducing and guiding the graduate to the labor market through interaction with the governmental and non-governmental sectors, development of standards to executive centers, and issuance and revocational licenses of executive centers and courses. Currently, 158 affiliated centers of the National Center of Health Vocational Education and Training are licensed to conduct training courses throughout Iran. But only 25 centers actively offer various educational courses. To conclude this presentation, I want to say perhaps it can be said that in Iran, TUET system should be combined to form a coalition in order to create sustainable national development. Based on the statistical information and due to the novelty of TUET and each TUET in Iran, I believe that the need for following activities should consider specifically in culture building, reviewing curriculum structures, designing a appropriate practical work experience, training of instructors and their professional development, designing evaluation system and reporting methods, using new teaching methods in technology aid and paying attention to educational justice, and using learning in vocational education and training and health TUET, and usage of technology to TUET. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you so much, and thank you for your attention.
Appreciated, Ms. Shahbazi and all the presenters. We have two questions. The first one is asked by Dr. Shabi. It is about the difference between pedagogy and andragogy. And Dr. Ahmadi, could you please answer this question?
Do you have my voice?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, but it's this question related to Dr. Zarazade. If he's on, if we want to answer this question, it's okay. Otherwise, I will reply.
Okay, Dr. Zarazade, do you hear us?
Can you activate his microphone?
Yes, Dr. Zarazade, can you hear us?
Okay, can I answer the question?
Yeah. Yes, please, because I think he cannot hear us.
Okay, actually, it's a very good question with Professor Shahbazadi. We have two different kind of categorization concerning the learning theory, from the andragogy to pedagogy to heterogogy. Once we talk about the pedagogy, commonly and with specific use, we always concerning about the adult learning. Once because of there is two different theories. Yes, the first theory is self-regulated or self-regulation theory, based on this and pedagogy perspective and theory, self-regulated, concerning about the adult education and principle of adult education and adult learning. But once we talk about the heterogogy or heterogogy, we are concerning about the theory of self-determinant learning. This is very, to some extent, new theory. I think it's raised from Sterling with Hayes and his colleague from 2010 and after. This heterogogy theory based on the self-determinant theory is mean that the learner and the people can learn and can set their learning from the childhood to adulthood. In contrast with the pedagogy that we can use sometimes andragogy with the same parallel, definition. And the pedagogy, because people learn when they are adult, but in pedagogy, with the new perspective from the theoretical learning theory, is mainly focused on from the childhood to the adult or with lifelong learning. Sorry, do you have my voice?
Yes, we can
Okay.
hear you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your response. And the second question is from Dr. Mubashir Iftikhar. He's saying that nowadays, mobile devices are substitutes for human brain. How do you see the impact of reducing cognition and learning more complex jobs?
Sorry, may you repeat the questions?
Yeah, he has mentioned that nowadays, mnemonic device as one's mobile device instead of his or her brain. People do not use their brains anymore that much. And how do you see the impact of reducing cognition and learning more complex jobs?
I'm not sure about this question, what exactly he mean about the question, but if he mean whether with mobile learning we can learn, or the impact of mobile learning with technical and vocational training, which kind of question does he have?
I think he's saying that because of using mobile devices, human cognition is reduced.
Okay, okay.
It's not functioning properly. So what is the impact on learning complex jobs?
I think we can keep the open this kind of question, and it's not directly related to the system, but it's a very important question about the mobile learning and its effect on the cognitive domain of the learning. Yeah, I would rather to keep open this kind of question, and we can discuss more later about this.
Okay, thank you. And to the best of my knowledge, we have two raised hands, and Ms. Atiye Farihi, could you please activate your mic and ask your question? Ms. Farihi. I cannot see her. Shafa, do you see her?
She might not be in the room anymore, but there's also
Okay. And I think we have no more questions.
Dr. Zarza trying to, getting the connect with us. Please activate his microphone. I'm not sure.
And of course, we have some more.
Hello?
Ways. Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, thanks for nice presentation. My question is, how can we implement these nice models in practice in our medical universities?
Do you mean the proposed framework that I have already
showed? Yes, these frameworks, considering the context of all medical universities in Iran. It's, first they have to pass the theoretical courses, and then they practice these in let's say hospitals. But how can we implement this TVET in our universities?
Okay, it doesn't matter. If you're going to implement a TVET program around your institution, the central support and service system you need for TVET at your institution. Based on this theoretical and framework, conceptual model and this framework, you can use different, because of the shortage of time, I couldn't describe completely this framework for you. That is why you are asking this kind of question. But we can use and we can adopt this framework at your institution based on your level of central planning and technical support and the system. For example, once you are dealing with institutional level of your program, you can set your policy, strategy, you can make your organization adapted to this kind of program partnership. Or once you're talking about the instructional level of this program, you are going to define and design curricula, courses, lesson plan, media, material, and workshop. Or even for infrastructure, you're dealing with the teaching skill and other kind of element that are play the main role in designing your TVET program.
Yes, you're right, but because we have to wait for policymakers that they start something in Tehran, let's say, and then other universities follow those policies. So in practice, nobody do something and everybody just waiting that somebody starts doing this TVET.
That's why I was talking about the policy of your institution. From the institutional level, you can consider the policy of your institution. But if you're gonna about the challenge for integrating of the, e-learning, virtual learning, and TVET, there are lots of challenge and major, challenges for this kind of program.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Rostamian. There's another question from Ms. Nushin Mahmoud. Could you please activate your microphone and ask a question? Ms. Mahmoud? Shafa, could you please give her access to the mic?
Yes, I think she might not be on any longer either. But
Oh, I see.
Dr. Shabi Zaidi's hand is raised here as well.
Yeah, sure. Dr. Shabi, we're ready to hear your question or comments. Yes, please.
Thank you. First of all, my compliments to all the speakers, facilitators, and of course, Shole yourself. Superb talks. I mean, goes without saying, a person who's almost ignorant in medical education like myself has been so educational. It's phenomenal. That's a compliment to all. My comments are on two things. One is the where Dr. Ziadzadeh, when you talk about andragogy, I was very impressed because Noyles is my favorite writer in medical education. And I regret to say that not many people know of him. Not many people read him. My comment is that, and this is what I said in Kufa University some 10 years ago also, that we should not be calling every education that we have in higher secondary or medical education pedagogy. It should be andragogy. Pedagogy is not self-driven. It is motivated by parents, by teachers, etc. You tell the students to do a certain thing, they do it. Andragogy is what we use in medical schools or in technical colleges, which is self-motivated, certain objectives, desire to excel, to make more money, or to be more famous. So my comment is only a comment, people can consider it, that we should be using andragogy at the level of higher secondary and medical education, not pedagogy, because we're not immature learners. That's one. Second, the very interesting question that Mubashir Iftikhar raised about the possible cognitive decay due to mobile technology and everything. How interesting. Only this morning, I was talking to a clinical psychologist in New York, a practicing pediatric clinical psychologist, who mentioned to me about a case. A 6-year-old boy was brought to her who could not use the hands. There was motor decay, motor, tactile, sensory, motor, and functional decay of all the fingers except for the thumbs. So after a great deal of investigation, they found out that the boy was the only child of working parents who was left to work on video games. He used to use thumbs all the time for 6 years or 5 years or whatever. So his rest of the hand almost decayed and he could not think straight except through the video games. So my answer to Mubashir, if I can dare say, is that I think it is important that cognitive domain should be kept active. Mental exercises, whether it's crossword puzzles or talking to people or conversation generally, or even gossiping, to keep the mind active. Otherwise, this technology will overtake us and the mind will change to nothing except what you might call collection of soft gray material. Thank you.
Sorry, Dr. Shabi, may I add a comment or a statement to your nice description?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. I think it's depend on the, our definition from the technology. If we consider technology as an instrument for education, that's very simple definition and very simple expression for training and education. But if we consider technology as a part of, as a philosophy of education, as a theoretical perspective of the education, in this case, you're completely right. So it's depend on our definition and our expression about the technology. If we consider the second, connection of the technology in order to create the philosophy, in order to define, in order to express the philosophy of training and education in different courses, doesn't matter, TVET or the formal, graduate courses or other courses. So in this point, you're completely right, and it's a great description you have raised. Thank you very much.
Most great.
Do you agree with my statement?
I think it's a
Shahid?
perfect statement. See, technology. You see, what's happening is that technology is driving. It's a race, almost like a hunter.
That's good.
It's like a race between the hunter and the hare. The hare runs forward, the hunter chases him. Hare turns into one corner, hides into a bush. Same way, technology is constantly moving forward, and we're chasing it all the time. The time will come, and I regret to say that I'm old-fashioned. I'm very fond of technology, but I'm more fond of human element, the composition, the mental, intellectual capacity, the capacity to be able to think clearly without the help of digital technology, for example. We should rely on our capabilities, because one day what happened, like this morning or yesterday, I was doing a webinar, there was a lot of technical difficulties. So technology is wonderful to assist. We should not be servants of technology, we should be masters of technology. That is my objective. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let us hear from Dr. Ziadzadeh. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Zaidi and all the participants. Thank you very much for this webinar. I wanted to have a comment on Dr. Iftikhar's comment on smart technologies. This is an open question. New smart technologies, will they make us smarter or the way around? I think evidence is not enough now. And in future, this question will be answered with more evidence. So we shall wait.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zarzadeh, for your comments. We have two more questions. The one from dear Al-Sheikh Bad. It's mentioned that, can we consider medicine as a TVET form of education or not? Are they similar or different?
Yeah, sure. It's depend of the with which education system we are dealing with, formal one or informal or informal. If we are dealing with the formal one, yes, some part of formal one, formal education system in the field of medicine or healthcare and medical sciences. Yes, we exactly in this webinar, in this meeting, we exactly dealing with the medical science, and the medical education is the way of designing and implementing and evaluating of the TVET program in the field of medical science.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And the last question is from dear Ibrahim Bola. It's mentioned that, can we recognize simulation program as a part of TVET?
Sure. Actually, because of the shortage of time, I couldn't, explain the different new and modern technology that they can use for TVET or vocational and technical training, and especially simulation. It doesn't matter which kind of generation that simulation has, but most of the simulation has very effective impact on the training of the skill and for skill development of the trainer. Yes, which indeed we can consider very, as a new and modern technology in the field of TVET, new TVET program.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you for this wonderful presentation, and I'm very grateful to IMI and SADC International Virtual University, Professor Shabih Zaidi, Professor Molazem Bukhari, Dr. Tabassum Zahra, Ms. Shafa Abbas, and Dr. Mubashir Iftikhar for all the wonderful job that they do for conducting this webinar. Thank you very much, Dr. Zaidi, again for everything, and wish to meet all our great participants in the future webinars. Thank you very much for this webinar.
Thank you very much for nice effort. Thank you for the good moderator of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thanks
Ahmed.
a lot. Thank you.
Farzadeh, thank you, and Miss Sarah Shahbazi as well, and of course Dr. Sholeh again for an amazing webinar. And we're so thankful to have you, and so grateful to have everyone's expertise this morning. I would like to, just for our friends in the audience, share the next upcoming events. We have an event coming up on March 27th. Let me just share that here. We have an event on March 27th from SIVU on adult congenital cardiology by Dr. Ali Nasser Zaidi, followed by an event, and I apologize, just for our, the people that are still here, IMI, SIVU are hosting international conferences in medical education from April 5th to 9th, this next month. The first will be Monday, April 5th, with the University of Karbala College of Medicine. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, April 6th, 7th, and 8th, with ERA University of India, Virtual International Conference for Health Professions Education, Health Professionals of Tomorrow, Agents of Educational Reforms. And finally, Friday, April 9th, with the American University of Barbados, the Global Conference for Health Professional Educators. So please visit our website for more information on that. And we have one final sharing of an event that we're co-hosting with IMI UK on healthcare professionals in the digital world on Sunday, March 28th. So we will share all of that on the WhatsApp and on our website, and we would love to have you all there. Thank you, and see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Dr. Shifa.
Thank
Great.
you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.